Who's that? Hmm? Isn't she beautiful? Who is this lady? Huh? Who is this? Our beautiful black nanny. Isn't she beautiful? So yeah, so this is so that's an actual, like an illustration of Nanny of the Maroons. Good evening. Thank you for joining me. I'm a Rasta for life. So I saw that there was a little interest in our Maroon people and the history of the Maroons. So I said, you know what? Let's delve more into the history. So I just wanted you to see a picture of Queen Nanny, right? That's Queen Nanny, right? For all of you guys that want to see. And she's on the 500 Jamaican dollar bill, right? Queen Nanny. Okay, guys, put some respect on it. Now, Queen Nanny, Granny Nanny, or Nanny of the Maroons, ONH, was born between, well, she was born 1686 to 1760 and was an 18th century leader of the Jamaican Maroons. She led a community of formerly enslaved Africans called the Windward Maroons. In the early 18th century, under the leadership of Nanny, the Windward Maroons fought a guerrilla war over many years against British authorities in the colony of Jamaica in what became known as the First Maroon War. And this is under the leadership of this woman, this great black Jamaican woman. Now, as we read further, we will learn more about Queen Nanny. Much of what is known about her comes from, I'm sorry, oral. This is so inappropriate, but what can I say? This is just me. Okay, excuse me. Much of what is known about her comes from oral history, as little textual evidence exists. According to Maroon legend, Queen Nanny was born in Jamaica and was the daughter of Prince Naquan, who was taken into slavery by the Spanish from what is today Ghana of the Asante in 1640. Now, when we go into the Asante, also known as Ashanti, are part of the Akan ethnic group and are native to the Ashanti region of modern day Ghana. Asantes are the last group to emerge out of the various Akan communities or civilizations. Twi is spoken by over 9 million Asante people as a first or a second language. During the years of warfare, the British suffered significant issues and losses in their encounters with the Windward Maroons of eastern Jamaica. Maroons attributed their success against the British to the successful use of supernatural powers by Nanny. But historians argue that the Maroon mastery of guerrilla warfare played a significant role in their success, meaning that because of Nanny's leadership, they were able to do these guerrilla warfare tactics under her reign. Having failed to defeat them on the battlefield, the British sued for peace, signing a treaty with them on the 20th of April, 1740. The treaty stopped the hostilities, provided for state sanctioned freedom for the Maroons, and granted 500 acres of land to Nanny and her followers. The village built on the land grant still stands and today is called Moortown. It is also known as the New Nanny Town. Modern members of the Moortown celebrate 20 April 1740 as a holiday. Moortown is a maroon settlement located in the Blue Mountains and John Crow Mountains of Portland, Jamaica, accessible by road from Port Antonio. The easternmost maroon town, Moortown, is located in the eastern end of the parish, formerly known as New Nanny Town. Moortown was founded in 1740 when the peace treaty was signed between the British colonial authorities and the Windward Maroons. The treaty allotted the Moortown Maroons 1,000 acres, but Moortown only received 500. In 1781, the initial 500 acres was augmented with another 500 acres, taking their communal land up to 1,000 acres. While Maroons and the British initially referred to this settlement as New Nanny Town, from 1760, the colonial authorities called it Moortown or Murraytown when it was reportedly named after acting governor Sir Henry Moore. As of 2009, Moortown has a reported population of 1,106 people. And you also have Nannytown, Moortown, and then the government and so forth, right? So we're getting a little brief history of Nanny and the Maroons, right? So now I've lost it. I have to go find it again. So we're just reading about Nanny of the Maroons and her contribution to Jamaica. Now, during the years of warfare, the British suffered significant losses, right? And, they had to do like a peace treaty and they had to offer them land, 500 acres, so forth and so forth, right? And every 20th of April, as of 1740, Moortown uses this date as a holiday. In 1975, the government of Jamaica declared Nanny as their only female national hero, celebrating her success as a leader. Her image is also on the Jamaican $500 note, which is called a nanny in Jamaican slang. The origins of Nanny. According to a Maroon legend espoused by the Maroons of a Kompong town, Nanny was born into the Akan people in Blue Mountain of Jamaica, but it is also possible that she came from West Africa. Her father was allegedly one of 600 Akan people who came to Jamaica on a trading excursion with the Spaniards when they were betrayed and sold into slavery in 1642. The legend claims that they eventually escaped and found refuge in the Blue Mountains, where they encountered the existing Taino Maroons who had been there since the time of Columbus. However, Nanny is associated with the Moortown Maroons in the east and not a compound in western Jamaica. The notion that there are several versions of her early story stems from the fact that Maroons, like most Africans, deified their ancestors and used them as characters in folk tales. She is often the subject of many Maroon stories, and therefore there are numerous origin stories. In one Maroon story, Nanny came to Jamaica as a slave but then escaped, perhaps even jumping off the ship while it was offshore, while her sister, Sekesu, was enslaved. The legend states that Queen Nanny became mother of all Maroons, and her sister, Sekesu, became mother of all enslaved in Jamaica. The oral traditions about her arrivals in Jamaica maintain that she was always free, while Sekesu eventually died free in the mountains with Nanny. Wow. In another story, she came as a free woman who may have even led her own slaves. Another version of her life tells that she was of royal African blood and came to Jamaica as a free woman. She may have been married to a Maroon man, possibly named Adu, and had one son named Kwash Kwaku, nicknamed Grandfather Puss. Relatives of poet John Agard claim descent from Nanny. Now, when we look up Grandfather, well, it's just letting us know who she is. Okay, okay. According to, oh Lord, I lost it again. Nanny. Oh, sorry, hold on, guys. Okay. According to one Maroon legend, Nanny's name was also Sarah Matilda Rowe, but that has not been verified. The Rowe family of Jamaica claim direct descent from Nanny. According to oral history, her second husband was named Swimple Swipple Mento, later known by the anglicized name of Rose Harris, affectionately called Pa Rose, then Pa Rowe. Queen Nanny was known as Shanty Rose or Ma Rowe. Oral tradition states that Rowe eventually became anglicized as Rowe, Rowe, though many Maroons of the late 18th century changed their African names for European ones as they converted to Christianity. Maroon legend states that Nanny was known to have gone by the name Sarah and sometimes Matilda. Oral history states that she had three children with Swipplemento, two sons, Kojaro and Apong Ro, and a daughter called Nanny as well. The Jamaican Maroons. Okay, so we're reading about our Nanny, from Jamaica and her history. And we're also learning that she was very excellent in guerrilla warfare, leadership of her people, and making sure that her people remained free and not slaves. So I just wanted to present this piece because I know there was a peak in curiosity about the Maroons and so forth. And I got a lot of comments on the video that I had presented. So I decided, let's go more into it because you got these people on social media that like to have all these things to say, but they don't present anything. So I know why I'm doing this because once when they see you on social media, they make their judgments, right? And sometimes you let them make their judgments, but you always prove them wrong. The Maroons are descendants of West Africans, mainly people from the Akan. They were known as Coromantee or Coromantee and were considered ferocious fighters. A number of the enslaved originated from the origins of Africa, including Nigeria and not limited to the Congo and Madagascar. However, the origin of at least half of the enslaved African people in Jamaica during the early English colonization of the island is uncertain. After being brought to Jamaica in the course of the transatlantic slave trade, many enslaved Africans fled from the oppressive conditions of plantations and formed their own communities of free black people in Jamaica, in the rugged, hilly interior of the island. People who escaped from slavery joined these maroon communities in the mountains of eastern Jamaica or the Cockpit country in the west of the island. Up to the 1650s, under Spanish rule, enslaved Africans escaped and intermarried with the native islanders, the Taino or Arawak, in their communities in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica, located in Portland Parish and St. Thomas Parish, Jamaica, in the eastern end of the island. So we get to learn that the Maroons were in the Blue Mountains. They intermingled with the Arawak Indians, and they were basically based in, the Portland Parish and the St. Thomas Parish in Jamaica. Many Maroons were escaped slaves who ran away from their Spanish owned plantations when the British took the Caribbean island of Jamaica from Spain in 1655. However, many modern day Maroons believe that the Maroons of Nanny Town belonged to a separate group that existed in the mountains prior to 1655. They state that Queen Nanny's Maroons date back to the Tainos, the Arawaks, fleeing to the Blue Mountains when the Spaniards first arrived in Jamaica. Maroon oral history maintains that her family arrived in 1640 and joined the existing Maroons, whose community allegedly existed about 150 years before the Spanish fled Jamaica. Windward Maroons. In 1655, following the invasion of Jamaica, the English captured Jamaica from the Spaniards, but many Spanish slaves became free under Spanish Maroon leaders such as Juan de Bolas and Juan de Serras. The Spanish left, freeing their slaves in the process, and they joined the Windward Maroon communities. These formerly enslaved people, with their ranks enhanced with escaped and liberated slaves, became the core of the Windward Maroons, and they staged a prolonged fight against English subjugation and enslavement. Later in the 17th century, more slaves escaped, joining the two main bands of Windward and Leeward Maroons. By the early 18th century, these Maroons and the Maroon towns were headed respectively by Nanny, who shared the leadership of the Eastern Maroons with Quao and Captain Cujo and Accompong in the west. The Windward Maroons fought the British on the east side of the island. Their village is in the Blue Mountains of Portland. Isn't that beautiful? It's good to learn about the history of our Jamaican people. I'm sorry. Ooh. Now, this is some, lemon and whatever. It's very tart. Now, in the Blue Mountains of Portland, the community raised animals, hunted and grew crops. Maroons at Nanny Town and similar communities survived by sending traders to the nearby market towns to exchange food for weapons and cloth. It was organized very much like a typical Asante society in Africa from 1655 until they signed peace treaties in 1739 and 1740. These Maroons led most of the slave rebellions in Jamaica, helping to free slaves from the plantations. They raided and then damaged lands and buildings held by plantation owners. That's the ferocious Ghanaian blood. The Maroons were also known for raiding plantations for weapons and food, burning the plantations and leading freed slaves to join their mountain communities. Nanny was highly successful at organizing plans to free slaves. During a period of 30 years, she was credited with freeing more than 1,000 slaves and helping them to resettle in the Maroon community. Now she kind of sounds like Harriet Tubman too, in America. Yes, she does. You can compare her also to Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was just like Nanny. And then the first Maroon War by 1720, Nanny and Quao, sometimes called her brother, settled and controlled an area in the Blue Mountains. It was later given the name Nanny Town, and it had strategic location overlooking Stony River via a 900-foot ridge, making a surprise attack by the British very difficult. Nanny became a folk hero among the Maroons and the slaves, while the British captured Nanny Town on more than one occasion. They were unable to hold onto it. The wake of numerous guerrilla attacks from the Maroons waged a successful war against the British colonial forces over the course of a decade. When Nanny Town was abandoned, the Windward Maroons, under the command of Nanny moved to New Nanny Town between 1728 and 1734 during the First Maroon War. Nannytown and other Maroon settlements were frequently attacked by British colonial forces. They wanted to stop the raids and believed that the Maroons prevented settlement of the interior. According to some accounts, in 1733, many Maroons of Nannytown traveled across the island to unite with the Leeward Maroons. In 1734, a Captain Stoddart attacked the remnants of Nannytown, situated on one of the highest mountains in the island, via the only path available. He found it steep, rocky, and difficult, and not wide enough to admit the passage of two persons abreast. In addition to the use of the ravine resembling what Jamaicans called a cockpit, the Maroons also used decoys to trick the British into ambushes. A few Maroons would run out into the view of the British and then run in the direction of fellow Maroons who were hidden and would attack. After falling into these ambushes several times, the British retaliated, according to planter Brian Edwards, who wrote the narrative half a century later. Captain Stoddart found the huts in which the Negroes were asleep and fired upon them so briskly that many were slain in their habitations. However, recent evidence shows that the number of Windward Maroons killed by Stoddart in his attack on, on Nannytown was in single digits. So this is, the story of Nanny and the Maroons, part one. Because I only got like 3 minutes left. So I just wanted to go over this again and introduce it to you guys my way on I'm a Rasta for Life. And I hope you enjoyed part one of Nanny and the Maroons of Jamaica. And we will continue this again. Um, we did up to the pit, and now we can do military tactics in the treaty and Moortown and Tacky's War. Look, it's good to know about your history and about your people. And, Jamaican people should be more into, the history of Jamaica so that they can tell their children and their children's children. And it will always be in your mind and you won't forget it and you can share the information. So it's a good thing, especially because it has a rich history, Jamaica, and you learn about the Arawak Indians and you learn about the Maroons and you learn how they came together as a people and created this strong community where even the British had to succumb to them. They couldn't overtake them. And that's the Maroons, and I'm Maroon. Have a good evening, guys, and thank you for watching so much. Until we meet again on I'm a Rasta for Life.